Hey guys, welcome to this State of Play reactions episode of Operation PlayStation. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Paul James. What's going on, Padge?
Oh, not a lot. It's been a big day if you're a fan of PlayStation games, and I'm kind of thrilled that we get to do a little mini episode here.
I know, right? It's our first real reactions of a State of Play episode, and what a special one this is. It's to marvel in something as beautiful as what we're about to talk about. It's it's unbelievable, and I can't wait to get into it. Guys, if you didn't know, this is Operation PlayStation, Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest in PlayStation has to offer, including next-gen gaming. If you like what you hear today, make sure that you follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. You can give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. And also catch the VOD over on Gamer.com. Padge, we're not going to waste any time. Let's just jump into this.
Let's do it.
What a beautiful game already. Like, I can't believe what I saw today.
We are talking about Ghost of Tsushima, of
Tsushima.
Course, for anyone who's not aware.
Yes.
Didn't read the title of this podcast or this YouTube video.
We are talking about Ghost of Tsushima State of Play today. That was unbelievable. You want to start off? Go right ahead, because I know that you got a lot to talk about.
Oh no, not necessarily. I think we can just kind of bounce off each other. I mean, the game's looking incredible visually.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be people that'll kind of, I think, and I haven't seen too much of it yet on the internet, but I'm sure there's people that will come out of the woodwork soon enough, because it does look like visually a little bit of a downgrade from the demo that we got at E3. What was it, 2018? The last one where they sent them from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
When I say a downgrade, I don't mean as in it certainly doesn't look shit house, that's for sure.
Oh no.
But it's more along the lines of, I think it was more stylized when we saw it, and when we're talking about the colors, and maybe it was just how it was kind of scripted for that particular demo, and they threw the entire kitchen sink when it came to effects at the whole thing. But there was this more, and only slightly, but this more hand painted sort of style to it. Okay. It's maybe not quite there in the final product, or maybe it is just a product of what we were actually getting exposed to in this demo.
Yeah,
but it doesn't quite have that same hand painterly style, which I would imagine is also very demanding on the PS4 to be able to do that consistently. So that might also be the rationale. There's a lot of reasons why it may not have been present in the demo, and it could actually be present in this final product. I have no idea.
There was one thing that actually concerned me while you're bringing that up. Yeah, it was some texture popping did occur during this little tech demo as well.
Yeah, I did see that.
Especially near the beginning, and there's a little bit that's on the screen right now. That was one of my main concerns, whether or not they will, fix that before July release date. One other thing that did concern me a little bit about it was just if it will maintain its promised fluidity. And they haven't promised anything like 60 frames per second. Obviously, they've only stated that
it's a video game. It'll run.
That's it. But for what we actually had on screen at the time, regardless, overlooking the texture pop in, and you're right, some of the aesthetics were dropped from the initial tech demo that we actually got to see a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And also, I believe with HDR implemented, I feel like there was a little bit of emulated HDR put into that tech demo a couple of years ago, whereas this one kind of didn't show that. But they try to accentuate what, the vibrancy that was displayed in its original tech demo. But yeah, this one, look, I still absolutely adored what I saw. I believe the opening, as soon as I saw it, my immediate vibes were almost Breath of the Wild-esque, and wanted me to kind of, in the way that I wanted to explore everything around me.
Okay, so I instantly thought, and people hold them up as alongside Breath of the Wild, probably The Witcher or whatever, holds it up as probably the best game of the generation, or certainly one of the best. But I instantly thought The Witcher 3 only because there's that aspect that you were talking about, but then it does seem to be looking to emulate the philosophy that CD Projekt Red implemented when they were designing The Witcher 3, which was every 30 seconds that you're moving through the world, you want to see something that kind of attracts your eye and tempts you in some way to engage with it.
Yep.
And whether that was something like the bear that was attacking those guys, or you can see the plumes of smoke up in the sky, and that's kind of, that's leading to that, what's causing that?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see someone on the side of the road. All those sorts of things that we saw effectively implemented in The Witcher 3 so incredibly well. It seems like they've taken a bit of a leaf from their page there, and I'm real happy with that.
Yeah, I got a lot of vibes from a mixture of games that they were trying to like hybrid almost, and it really showed off what Sucker Punch has learned from basically its concept in like the Infamous series, but also kind of lifting things from like Horizon, God of War, the Assassin's Creed series, basically
we've now listed the 3 games that I instantly thought of. Witcher, Assassins, and Horizon were all the things that instantly sprung to my mind.
Well, the lush environments definitely like what we remember a lot. It was a lot of trade. It was Horizon's trademark. A lot of the lush environments, and that's what we're getting here. A lot of greenery. There's also,
and that's what you expect from the locale, of course.
Of course, 100%. One thing I did kind of notice was a little bit of a confusion though in terms of its presentation. Like I was sitting there going, "What time of day is it?" And I kind of gotten that from a lot of the tech demos that they've been shown off. I don't know whether it's because it's like real smoky around the area or something.
I think it might be the idea of the smoke, because there is that. And we're jumping ahead, I guess, to the gameplay portion more so. But when they were kind of showing the invasion of the boatyard there, and the fact that you could approach them kind of normal samurai gear, that was implied. They didn't directly say it, but they implied that was during the day anyway. And it was significantly lighter, but still quite dark to what you would expect. It's a bright sunny day for us right now as I look out the window. Picturesque sort of stuff, and it wasn't that in this particular case when it came to the sky. So it could be the smoke that you're talking about, which just makes it hazy and a little bit harder for the sunlight to poke through.
Yeah, I think it's just the general aesthetic that they're actually trying to go for, like that traditional, that traditional Japanese vibe that we get in the old samurai movies. That just display that archaic look, that ancestry kind of look to it. I think it does it real well. I think there was another thing that I kind of had, and it's on screen right now, like right in front of them, was kind of the textures and the polygonal design of some of the rocks and everything around the area. Kind of had that paper bag look to it, and I was kind of worried about that because it was very blocky in some areas. I don't know whether
I can't say. I'll have to rewatch those bits.
I don't know whether that's got to do with once again the texture pop in being a little delayed on it, and whether they'll fix that or not. I believe that still that kind of probably attests to its massive scale and the broad scope of how big the world may be and how big this game actually may be. But look, from everything that we're seeing so far, from its ranging gameplay, and also, like, once again, those Assassin's Creed vibes are real heavy in this.
Especially when they kind of toggle into the ghost, quote unquote, that part, that kind of nighttime sequence, let's approach it that way, then it felt very Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah.
And it did make me, as a big Assassin's Creed fan, made me start to think, maybe I wouldn't mind playing as the ghost 99% of the time. Like, maybe I'll just save all my activities till the nighttime.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on how, like, there's going to be obviously a consensus that'll come out of this. I think, look, it'll be a positive consensus from just gauging
for sure.
From what we've seen. This is going to be a great game to play, especially from, that core audience, the Assassin's Creed, the Horizon, the God of War. Like, a lot of the PlayStation audience will definitely appreciate what they're seeing here. Do you think, though, that there's going to be any downfalls towards this kind of game?
I mean, there's nothing that really springs to mind. Like, I looked at that and I did think that there's the best parts of, and all the games that we've kind of discussed so far. The question mark that I could see come up is that people will say, yeah, but it's super derivative as a result.
What do you mean?
Oh, as in like where's its own personality? Where's its own? What does it bring to the table?
Oh, its own unique flavor. Yeah.
That's the argument I could see get brought up. Doesn't faze me in the slightest. I'd say the majority of games out there are iterations or amalgamations of the best aspects that we see from other titles.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really faze me too much, but that has been one little sentiment that I've seen pop up so far is that, like it's not really its own thing though in some ways, but I think it's the setting and I think it's the story that they're going to be looking to tell, which they're not diving into in any way, shape or form, which I really appreciate, that I think will make this one stand out compared to those other titles.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I mean, a lot of titles draw inspiration from other titles, and this one's no exception to that. You can definitely see... There's like even Uncharted would be put into this as well. There's no doubt. I just think that like taking the best of what is surrounding the current gaming climate and implementing it into one, and like you said, the perfect word was amalgamation. An amalgamation of some of the best unique mechanics that were put into other titles and inspire Ghost of Tsushima to become one of the best, of 2020, which is going to be just incredible in itself. Now, one of my concerns was we've got two first-party PlayStation titles coming out within a month of each other.
Yep.
And obviously, with The Last of Us 2 coming out, where Ghost of Tsushima was expected to come out, now we're going to be having The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Do you think that this is kind of now put PlayStation in a head-to-head situation where people are going to be like, oh, you got The Last of Us 2 and you've also got the Ghost of Tsushima. What do I go with? And
yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still going to be, especially if in these very trying times for people financially.
Yeah.
If you're down to I've got one game to choose thing, then yeah, you're going to have that issue. But you could have that issue with The Last of Us and something else. So you could have that issue, like depending on how tight you might be at the time, you could be saying the same thing about Last of Us and Cyberpunk, which is still then another 3-4 months down the road.
Oh, yeah,
like
that's true.
Like there's still that question over some people's heads, and I get that, and thankfully that's not my situation at the moment.
Yeah.
But I can see how people could have that issue. So it's going to be an issue at the best of times. And again, and we're talking about this the day of the gameplay went live. There's also probably a lot of people who are big PlayStation people who are big Nintendo people as well. And Nintendo revealed a Paper Mario game at the same day. Now, I know that it's not the same demographic.
No,
but
of course not. Yeah.
You've got the likes of myself, and I'm sure you, that we do enjoy both of those franchises.
Hell
and
yeah.
some people might, because there are a lot of real hardcore Nintendo heads out there that might go, well, I'll go with Paper Mario. Like, I'm not looking for something that's super serious at the moment. And so people might make that choice. I don't think too many. I think the majority, if they're going to choose and they have the ability to choose, they'll probably pick Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, there are those little choices popping up left, right, and center. And I can respect why you may not go for it, but it means that it's not exclusively a PlayStation problem with Last of Us and Ghost.
Now, I did make that comparison before to Breath of the Wild within this, and its scope, its wide, its broad scope, its wide range of variety, and also the ability to kind of adventure in vast areas, in vast open areas. However, one downfall that I felt about Breath of the Wild was some areas were completely empty. Do you feel like we might get that here as well?
No, I mean, from looking at the map that they showed, and admittedly we saw the map for probably 2 seconds, and probably only kind of the western side of it too, if I recall in my head now what we saw. Like, there was enough key things dotted around there, and what they really heavily implied is that we're not going to necessarily show you everything on the map either. We're not going to go that Witcher or Assassin's Creed sort of model where it's here's everything, and there's just question marks all over the place, and it gets super overwhelming for the player. It's like you'll discover things. We're not going to steer you, grab you by the hand, and drag you past all these key points, then unlock points on the map. Like, you might find these things, maybe you don't. Like, and I think that's better. There'll certainly be some areas where I'm sure there's less activity than others. I'm sure the closer you get to any little townships or hubs of some sorts, then that's where you're going to find more side quests and stuff. But as opposed to others where you by the edge of the map or whatever, where sure it'll be quiet, and that's normal. I don't think we're going to struggle too much. And again, that's where, to that Witcher comparison I made before, that's where that whole philosophy, and it worked so well for The Witcher, where there were still spots where there weren't quests that you be doing in the area.
Mm.
You might be just riding through and you saw something occur and you'd go and pursue it. And it's not a quest. It's just one of those dynamic events that happens to pop up. Like, that's what people are looking for in a lot of these respects when they're really looking to immerse themselves in the world. It's not just quests. It's what else is just going on.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm pretty hopeful will be the case here. And I think that bear scenario, that really indicates that. He didn't stop. There was nothing that pinged on his little mini map. There was nothing at all. It was just, that's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
And you could stop and engage, or you could choose not to.
Yeah. I really appreciated some of the cinematics that were actually presented within this, and changing of the aspect ratio in terms of some of the action sequences as well. And also the changes that you can actually make to like just some of the the hue of the
Oh yeah,
yeah. It really did give off
nice.
those traditional vibes of like a traditional Japanese, an old school Japanese movie, an old school samurai movie. I really loved how they really implemented the film grain in it. The aspect ratio when you actually go into slice one of the enemies kind of just shifts as well.
Yeah, and I did like that they emphasised that you will get access to that from moment one. You don't have to unlock it or finish the game to do this. You can you want that to be your experience, you can do that from moment one, like the Japanese voice acting.
Yeah, and that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. So the variety of having both, well, the choice of having both English and Japanese voice acting is perfect. I think it gives off that sense of that, once again, that real traditional Japanese cinematic vibe, and having that available to you right from the get-go is awesome. What will you be playing in?
I mean, I'll play in English. I might re-explore it after the fact with Japanese and then English subs, but my default experience will be in English.
Now, knowing me as a weeb, I am a bit of a I am a dub over subs guy. However, I might actually play this in Japanese with subs.
Yeah, right, okay.
I don't know why, but I just feel like there is something...
It just would have been nice to see the subtitles demonstrated in the trailer, just to kind of highlight that little bit further. That was probably the only thing that was missing there. We heard them speak in Japanese, and that was great. But the subs at the bottom were kind of what was missing there to maybe sell people one way or the other. Yeah.
I just feel like there's a bit of authenticity playing it in Japanese and then having the subs there while you're playing it as well. I might explore, I might like experiment and see if I'm happy with it. If not, I can always switch back to the to English soundtrack as well. But I mean, look, that's an awesome choice as well. What really stood out to you though, like within everything that you saw today, Padge?
I mean, the world itself,
yeah,
and how stunning it looks, but specifically the combat, which we've not really, like, we've kind of mentioned these references to assassins and those sort of things, but we haven't necessarily dived too deeply into that aspect just yet.
No.
And I mean that contrast between the way that you play when you're the ghost, and sorry for anyone who's just listening, you're not actually a ghost, but when you are quote unquote the ghost, this clearly very intimidating entity in the eyes of the Mongols, versus when you're just stock standard Joe Samurai, going and engaging with people that way. Like that contrast was really, really impressive to me.
Yeah.
You could stroll up during the daylight hours where you're clearly exposed for who you are, and orchestrate a showdown of sorts, a one-on-one encounter, which I thought was really quite cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then you could obviously continue to play through in that regard. Or by night, stealth on through and play it basically like an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the term ghost being another term for like special ops, or just even the case of assassin. You play as the protagonist. Jin is his name.
Yes.
And he is almost like a special ops kind of samurai as well. It's interesting. One of the aspects as well of the entire tech demo I saw today, well, the gameplay we saw today was the violence, or just the gore of it. In some of the scenes where you had a lot of slashing and hacking of a lot of bodies, there were moments where I did see some arms flying, and I was like, wow, okay, so they're really going full on with some of the bloodiness of some of the butchering of some of the bodies in this gameplay.
I mean, I got my Dexter on and I was enjoying seeing the blood splatter.
Yeah.
Like you'd slice one way and you'd actually see the blood then kind of land in that sort of line. That was kind of cool. I can't say that I actually remember seeing the limbs go flying off, but I'll have to take your word for it in that regard.
Yeah.
But I didn't think at any point gory, and admittedly, I didn't spot the limbs flying off. Maybe I was just looking at other things at the time and not maybe focusing on the blood spatter.
Well, I just saw some of the gameplay as well again, and there was a part of it where he the gameplay where he's slashing a whole bunch of them, and one of them had both of his arms cut off, and I was like, oh.
Right. Look, I mean, I'm certainly expecting to get plenty of limb severing and decapitations and the like because it was a brutal time.
Yeah.
And it's true in many respects to what that era was like.
Yeah.
But I think because it's very realistic and true to the time, I don't then lean into this gore kind of exaggerated thing that we kind of associate when we think about a Doom, for example, where that's obviously just hyper exaggerated.
I'd say it's violence more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it's part of the combat dance, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's part of its historic
survival.
nature. Yeah. What I found kind of interesting as well when I actually kind of just sat here, because I watched it 3 times today, just to kind of marinate and think about some of the inspiration it draws from, some classic series as well. Well, one of them that I thought about when seeing some of the action sequences as well was a little bit of heavy inspiration drawn from. I almost want to say, you remember Metal Gear, the one with Raiden?
I'm not a Metal Gear guy.
Yeah.
But isn't that? Oh, as in the specific game, the Raiden one, Revengeance.
Revengeance, that's the one. Yeah, I think it was called Revengeance or something like that. Yeah. I really saw a lot of the fluidity from that engage. I mean, look, a lot of hack and slashes kind of gauge themselves with a lot of that action, but I did kind of gauge a little bit of that fluidity, that free motion that you could actually have when engaging in those battles in hack and slashing, when you are up front, close up to your enemies instead of like high up in the rafters, that kind of Assassin's Creed vibe where you jump off the like whatever it is that you're on, I guess, like in the boats or whatever. You're high up in like one of the balconies in the boats, and you jump off and you kind of come down with that samurai stab or whatever you call it. Yeah.
That plunge sort of thing.
Yeah. I felt there was some sort of, there is a very, very authentic vibe you get from doing those kind of things in games as well. Like even in Assassin's Creed, when you jump off, the roof of a church and dive into a pile of hay, you really feel like a superhero in that moment.
Oh yeah. And there's elements of that present here as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like you really, really are playing a mixed bag, though, with this character, whether or not we're actually intending to save someone or save something, or whether you're fighting for something or fighting against something. There's not really any clear intentions yet.
And I like that, personally.
Yeah. So we're
being
really
sold on gameplay.
Yeah. So we're really in a mixed bag of a story right now where we have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. What do you think? Where do you think that this plot is leading?
I mean, the whole thing is about invading Mongols, and that was obviously a thing that happened. So I think the general idea will be the attempt to fight them off, and it's just a matter of where does that actually go? What does it mean for Jin? Instantly the questions are probably already being asked, like, are we going to lead towards a sequel here? So is this, how is this war going to play out? Does it lead to Jin going elsewhere or to another wave and, some more dramas around that? We don't know about any other characters that might be involved with Jin, and, does he have love interests or siblings or mothers or fathers or any of those sorts of things that usually are a tropey sort of pull and an easy one to draw upon for developers? We don't know about any of that, so it's a little bit hard to kind of gauge.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so with this game releasing so late into our current generation as well, and we're going to brush over this quickly because we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the PS5 tech demo on the Dash Gamer podcast this coming Monday.
Yep.
But with this game releasing so late into the generation, do you feel like it's going to get a remaster or a re-res on PS5?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I suppose, look, with the whole backwards compatibility thing, it's a little bit harder to call than before. But I feel like it depends on what the rest of the slate looks like for PlayStation. If they're a little bit barren at some point, then okay, let's kind of do what Nintendo's been doing and go, okay, here's a deluxe version of this from the last generation. Like, they might look to do the same thing here.
I agree.
So, and it's a good way to pad things out.
Yeah.
So,
any final thoughts?
None at all. I think we've been really comprehensive. The game's looking fantastic, and I kind of can't wait to see more of it.
Definitely, 100%. Guys, if you didn't know,
this 2 months away.
This has been Operation PlayStation-Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation has to offer. If you like what you heard today, make sure that you follow us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings, and also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com. Padge, it's been awesome to talk Ghost of Tsushima with you today.
Yeah, can't wait to play the game. Been good to chat about it.
It releases July
17th.
There you go. July 17th for PlayStation 4. So we're real excited to do that. And I'm sure that we're going to be covering this title for the next couple of months. So it's going to be real exciting.
100%.
Yeah. Guys, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And until a couple of weeks' time, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com